What happens when four people with their own deeply personal experiences of suicide come together? One of the most extraordinary conversations you'll ever see. I'm Laura, and along with three others, we each shared a letter we'd written to a loved one or ourselves for our new campaign, What If a Conversation About Suicide Could Save a Life? Then we talked about what we've learned on our journey and what we want others to know. Because talking about suicide is the best way to prevent it from happening. This is The Conversation from Suicide Prevention Scotland.
Dear Gerry, you kept quiet about feeling suicidal. While she spoke about your worries and struggles in life, I listened but didn't pick up on the intensity of your pain. You masked this well through your laughter and jokes. I wish you had talked to me about how bad you were feeling. Your suicide has left us with such sadness, so many unanswered questions and what-ifs. Being bereaved by suicide has made me seek out information to understand more. This has helped me to support my son Andrew through his own dark times. Even though suicide is such an upsetting thought, I have learnt to ask Andrew if he felt suicidal and had a suicide plan. These uncomfortable questions helped him to talk in a space deeper below the surface. And although it was difficult for him to share his painful thoughts about suicide, and heartbreaking for us to hear, this has helped us to understand how he's really feeling and possible ways to support him. I've sat with Andrew on many nights, sometimes in silence, just to be there with him. I've encouraged him to talk, to be open and share his painful thoughts and feelings with me. It's been difficult to get him the help he needs, but we are getting there together. He is not on his own. We are slowly moving forward. It takes time, and no doubt we will have many ups and downs to come. But there is light in the darkness. There is always love and hope. There is help out there, but reach out. Talk to someone. Don't give up. Our experience has shown us it's finding the right help from the right person. And this takes time, but it is possible. We never got to say goodbye to Gerry. We miss you dearly, your smile, your laughter, your funny jokes and voiceovers. Your suicide has changed our lives, but please know we hold you close in our hearts forever. Love you loads, Clare. It's a hard thing to read, isn't it? It's like...
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Powerful.
Yeah, very powerful.
In some ways it's quite therapeutic as well.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, we didn't get to say goodbye to him.
Yeah.
And he did talk to me all the time about his daily worries and struggles in life. But I never ever thought that he felt suicidal. He didn't. He talked a lot, but it was like general chat, and he made lots of jokes.
Between talk and
Yeah.
asking for help.
Yeah.
And it's harder to say I need help.
Yeah. Yeah.
But actually just maybe being brave enough to say those really precise words is what you need to do. I think about what you said there about finding the right help as well, and I think sometimes you reach out to people and they're not responsive.
Yes.
But I think you have to persevere and ask someone else.
You have to keep fighting.
But that's hard, yeah.
Yeah, it feels like a fight to find the right person, because it's not just anyone, it's getting the right person, and like you say, it's how they respond.
Yeah.
Because that actually, initially being bereaved by suicide, I did try and speak to people, because you're like overwhelmed, aren't you? You just don't know how to live, it's just so many questions and so many what ifs, and so you kind of talk lots. You probably over talk and overshare, but it's seeing people's reactions, and then that can, if they're frightened and nervous and they don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Initially I thought, well, it's me, but then I realised it's other people's fear of death, grief, bereavement,
and the unknown.
Suicide, not knowing what to say, saying the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I think suicide is difficult to talk about.
Yeah.
And people are scared and don't know how to react when you talk about suicide. But I think the reality is you don't need to be an expert and know anything about it. You just need to be a good listener, which we've talked about before. You just need someone to listen.
Yeah. And that was, I know my son found it really hard to tell us how bad he was feeling, and he didn't want to, he's already seen us upset through suicide, and he didn't want to add to that. And sometimes I just felt I just need to sit with him, just so he knows I'm sitting right beside him, and just be there with him, and and then sometimes when he was ready to talk, he would talk. And I would just sit and listen. And
all you need sometimes. I know when I've been in the position that your son has been in, and that sometimes that is all you need. That you don't even have the words to say. And I was thinking that maybe about Gerry as well, and about Dylan, but that I'm in the lucky position that I can look back and think of the words that I could have said or could have. But at that time, at that moment, and not that's the thing, is that sometimes you don't even realise that you're actually suicidal. You just want the pain to end. And, so it's almost like, they weren't hiding. Like, Gerry wasn't hiding from you. Part of it is you're hiding from yourself. And you don't know how to articulate it. You don't know how to say, this is unbearable. And so you do kind of talk about all the other bits and pieces. My big thing would be, I just put all my life into my work. So then, basically, I didn't have to think about the pain I was feeling inside. And so if anyone had probably asked me, am I suicidal? I don't know if I even would have said. I probably would have said no in many moments. And then it's almost like starting to recognise in yourself, hang on, I'm having a lot of thoughts of ending my own life. I think sometimes when we experience it, we don't realise that that's actually what leads to a suicidal crisis. It's like that. If you can recognise it early, I suppose.
I think that's really interesting what you're saying about not realising enough yourself to be able to ask anyone for help, which is why it's so important for people around you who see a difference to be able to ask you, because that's then going to provide you that opportunity
That's what's kept me alive. Honestly, that's been the biggest thing, is me opening up and say, unfortunately, I didn't quite open up early enough, but so then people did saw because I was in hospital, etc. But now, my partner will say to me, Laura, hang on, are you okay? And there'll be things, and I'm more willing to sort of, and sometimes he'll, it's not like he's saying to me, I think you might be suicidal, but it's like sometimes I recognise, okay, maybe I need extra appointments with my counsellor, and I've put structures in place, and just preventative measures as well. Like when when I know I've been in a low place for a while, I won't drink alcohol. I won't do things like that. It's a difficult one, because I think, the whole thing is that we need to talk about suicide, but I think for sufferers as well, and that it could be due to mental illness, but it can also be the stresses of life. It can be so much you don't realise that you're in, you're either heading towards a really dark place. You just think that it's your normal new. It's your new normal of feeling low all the time, but you don't have to feel like that.
And I think that's the thing with the stigma around it, isn't it? Is that feeling that you have to be big and strong and get through life's struggles and keep going, and people say, you okay? And the quickest way to respond is say, yeah, I'm fine, isn't it? When actually you're not deep down, but that's just because it's quite hard to admit that you're not good and you're not in a good place and you're struggling. But actually just trying to encourage that communication and getting underneath the surface. That's the difference, because Gerry did talk loads and I did listen, but I never ever thought to say to him, are you feeling suicidal? I just didn't see that. And I think that because he did talk so much about it,
you thought he'd be okay.
It was just about daily stuff, but I just didn't see that intensity of how bad he was feeling. But because of that, I suppose it's taught me a lot in terms of, like, my son was only 9 when Gerry died. And he was looking to adults to say, well, why? Why did this happen? And he kept asking questions, and I was like, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But then that gave me an opportunity as a mum to talk about how important it is to talk, and no matter what you're feeling, and no matter how big you think the problem is, and you don't want to burden anybody, it's actually really important just to talk and really say how you feel and be open about it, and it's okay, and that's okay. And you know, no matter what you've done, you know, or no matter how you're feeling or whatever, just talk, you know, just share how you're, you know.
I think as well, I mean, I think it is important to note that there will be some people in your life that won't take it well, or won't be able to help you, or won't want to help you. And it's hard because you have to, for your own protection, for your own good, maybe, you know, learn that some friendships, some relationships aren't the best for you. But the true people who care and love you and know you will be there and will support you. And it's hard. It's hard for them. And I think that's what's really important about this, is how, you know, for those bereaved by suicide, it's like, it's not nice. It's not nice to be in that. Of course it's not. It's a different type of bereavement as well. And nobody would ever want to put you through it.
I think there are lots of people around you that would want to help, but don't know how to help, or think that that's the job of an expert. You need to know more about it. But I think what we're saying here is that actually you just need to be able to listen, but ask the right question as well. You know, you said you listened and you talked, but you had no idea really what was going on. So I think being able to use the word suicide is quite important.
It's definitely made the difference.
And I think that's what's scary for people, is to use that word. And then what if they say yes? What do I do? But you don't have to be an expert. You just have to listen. You just have to be a good listener. You can help them to get help, to find the right help. You don't have to have all the answers. You just need to be able to reach out to that person.
I think that's part of human nature, isn't it? There's that worry that we all want to help each other, and, you know, it's about just being there, isn't it? And listening and helping them.
And myself, I think even my behaviours have changed as well a little bit, where even at any kind of point where I'm maybe a bit kind of too anxious, or just that my mood's been low, there'll be times I'll call one of my friends and just tell them how I'm feeling, because I know that if I at least at that point sort of try to kind of come in early, like, if you like, just when I'm starting to feel like that, it feels better to sort of offload, because I think when anything that I go through, you know, with mental health, it can feel so alone, but as soon as you say to somebody else, especially a friend, somebody you can trust, somebody you know that's not going to judge what you're going to say to them, you feel so much better. It lifts the load a little bit.
It does, doesn't it?
And it's so important to do that.
I think it's so strange as well, because sometimes you might not feel like you might still feel low after saying it, but it does feel like this slight burden's lifted, doesn't it? It just feels a little bit like, oh, that came out, and that's okay, and it doesn't make everything instantly better, but somehow it helps a bit.
And you can talk it through as well. If something's worrying you, you can sort of say, I'm feeling down today, or for whatever reason, or my anxiety is quite high. They can maybe say, you know, well, what do you think is causing that? And you just sort of talk out a little bit, and then you actually kind of come to a conclusion that you probably wouldn't have thought about unless you'd had a conversation with someone about it.
Definitely.
That's the thing, it's not about fixing anything, is it? It's just about being there for someone and just, listening to them and just saying you're not on your own. And that's really, really crucial, I think.
The way I like to put it is, it's almost like sometimes I just need a pause in my head. And it's just like, if I just say, right, I'm feeling really anxious, this and this, sometimes just by doing that, it allows me to take a pause. And that pause has been enough to keep me alive. And sometimes that pause might feel like half an hour is unbearable, but then that half an hour becomes a day, and then and now 5 years later I'm still here, and I wouldn't have thought that 5 years ago.
It's amazing.
And it feels awkward even saying that, because it seems so silly, but it's strange. It's strange how just taking that little bit of time, that that bit of breathing space helps.